Hello, you're on Ruslan Belov's channel. So yesterday, trucks packed with the dead bodies of Ukrainian armed forces soldiers stood all day at the border between Belarus and Ukraine. A body exchange was supposed to take place there. They were supposed to come and retrieve these bodies. But no one from the Ukrainian side ever showed up. They waited all day, but no one came from the other side. No one wanted or was willing to collect the bodies. I think this is quite telling. It clearly shows how the Ukrainian authorities actually treat their fallen soldiers. And probably, all the money has already been embezzled, and now no one wants to pay compensation to the families of these dead soldiers. Well, the fighting continues, and we continue to study the situation at the front. Let's move to the map. So friends, over the past 24 hours, there haven't been any huge collapses in the Ukrainian armed forces' defenses, but their front lines did sag in several areas. If we look at the sections where our advance exceeded half a kilometer, there are 5 such sectors. Let's go over them one by one. We'll start with Sumy region. Yesterday, our forces managed to advance in one area, reach the village of Yablonevka, enter it, and essentially take control. The numerical advance there was 1.7 kilometers. Yes, it's worth noting that a small group of Ukrainian soldiers is still holding on to one street on the southern outskirts of the village. But that no longer has any real impact. I believe that today, or at the latest tomorrow, the matter will be settled completely. What's interesting, especially for those who regularly watch these updates, is that the front in Sumy region is moving forward every single day. Even though Syrski has already brought in reserves here, mostly made up of mobilized troops, it hasn't helped them at all yet. They've failed to halt, freeze, or cement the front line. It keeps moving every day. Maybe later these reserves will help when we reach the line of Khotin and Krapovshchina. I don't know. We'll see. And by the way, about those mobilized soldiers, I received a video yesterday that I posted on my Telegram channel. In it, our reconnaissance and sabotage group in Kharkiv region captured a military commissar, made him kneel and forced him to apologize. But back to the Sumy region, over the past day, the advance there totaled 3.5 square kilometers. Right now, the main task and efforts are focused on straightening the front line between Alexeyevka and Yablonevka. Considering the loss of most of Yablonevka and Novonikolaevka, this issue will be resolved soon. As for the city of Sumy itself, the former chief of the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces advised residents to leave the city as the Russian army is getting closer each day and the situation will not improve. And you know what? He's absolutely right. The situation really won't get better for Ukraine or for the residents of Sumy. Yes, the current distance from the city is still 17.5 kilometers. A decent distance, but just 2 weeks ago it was 27 kilometers. Now it's May 17th. So draw your own conclusions. Let's move to the Kharkiv region. There our troops advanced over 2 kilometers yesterday from Dvorishna and further north toward the village of Dolhenkoye. The terrain there is favorable for movement. The road toward Dolhenkoye runs along a high ground. If you compare it to Figolivka, for instance, that village lies in a lowland, and the same goes for Kudikovka. So securing this elevation and reaching Dolhenkoye will help us straighten the front line and potentially bring Kudikovka under our control. But that's not all. There was also a collapse in Ukrainian lines further south. A few more words about Kharkiv region. The reconnaissance group I mentioned earlier, the one that caught the military commissar and made him apologize, was operating near the village of Veliky Burluk. That's where that settlement is located. So, many people panicked when Ukrainian sabotage groups appeared in Bryansk region. But as you can see, ours are also operating quite deep behind enemy lines. From the border to Veliky Burluk, it's over 20 kilometers. And nothing. Our guys made it there, took a prisoner, and made him apologize on camera. Now let's move on. No news from the Lyman direction today, but preparations are underway there for the assault on Zelenaya Dolina. Meanwhile, after several days or even a week of relative quiet, the front has started moving again on the Pokrovsk direction. Intense battles are now unfolding for the village of Novosagevka. As you can see, our forces have managed to slightly push through Ukrainian defenses. And the fact is, Ukrainian soldiers are fighting to the death there. Just remember how long the battles for Uspanovka lasted. Several months. For those who are following, but perhaps not regularly, just to give you some perspective, we captured the city of Kurakovo faster than the small village of Uspenovka. Once again, Kurakovo is a city with a population of 20,000. We took it in 2 months. Uspenovka, with only 400 residents, took more than 3 months. That's the contrast. In the past day, we advanced 1.2 kilometers within the residential area of Novosagevka. As a result, the entire eastern part of the village is now under our full control. Fighting is ongoing in the center. This village is also important because it is the last one on this axis before the Dnipropetrovsk region. Capturing it brings us to the administrative border of the region. But again, elite and experienced Ukrainian units are deployed here, so it won't be easy or quick. The main thing is for our guys to stay alive, so there's no need to rush. Let's continue. There was also progress in another village, a large one, Alexivka. Just a couple of days ago, we managed to enter the village and gain a foothold on 2 edge streets, Sadovaya and Zelenaya. In the past 24 hours, we successfully expanded our control deeper into the village along Kalininskaya Street. That's the main street. It runs straight through the entire village from east to west. The advance within the residential area amounted to a solid 800 meters. I've already explained in previous episodes why this village is important and how its loss would affect the Ukrainian forces. But let me briefly recap. On this sector of the front, the Novopavlovsk direction, this is the last relatively large settlement. After this, there's a 15-kilometer stretch with no large populated areas until Novopavlovka. If you look at the map, there are very few villages at all. You can count them on one hand. 1, 2, 3, and then there's Orakovo, and that's it. 4 small settlements before Novopavlovka, and none of them are large. In other words, the Ukrainian forces will have nothing left to hold on to. When Alexivka falls, vast areas will start to crumble, and the Ukrainian troops will have to retreat all the way back to Novopavlovka. Maybe they'll hold out for a bit in those 3 small villages, but they won't be able to last long. That's the situation. That's the importance of this settlement, so the fact that we broke through the Ukrainian defenses, took the strongholds at the entrance to the village, and are now pushing deeper inside, that's very good news. We've also received good news from the Komarovskoye direction, where our forces advanced from Fyodorovka to Komar and entered the village. This indicates the front is continuing to collapse there. Just to give you some perspective, 2 days ago, our positions were still in Vesele, and now we're inside Komar itself. In just 2 days, more than 4 kilometers have been covered, the village of Fyodorovka has been taken under control, and our troops have managed to gain a foothold on the southern outskirts of Komar. And not just the outskirts, they managed to take part of Yegorova Street. The advance within the residential area of Komar totaled 750 meters. Thus, we can confirm that June 7th marked the beginning of the battles for Komar. Whether we'll be able to take it quickly, I can't say for sure because the village is not small and includes areas of reinforced construction, meaning it is quite defensible. However, considering how everything is falling apart for the AFU here, the Vostok East Group might surprise us with a few rapid strikes. That's all for now regarding the situation at the front. Now a few political updates. Ballistic missiles, fixed-wing drones like Geran, Lancets, FABs and KABs, all reported by retired Colonel Gennady Alekin. Prior reconnaissance was carried out using FPV drones that were flying over Kharkov yesterday. The strikes continued throughout the night. Targets included the industrial zone of the Kyievsky district, enterprises assembling and producing drones, hangars of the Kharkov aviation plant, and railway stations, Bavaria, Balashovka, and Osnova. The day before, trains carrying material, ammunition, and combat equipment had arrived there. The main strike hit underground facilities in the Kharkov-Sortirovka area. The entire city was blanketed in smoke overnight. Panic has gripped Kharkov social media. In Lipsy, a communications hub of the AFU was destroyed. The command of 2 brigades lost contact with frontline units for more than 3 hours. This caused panic among troops and the loss of 2 positions in that sector. Kupiansk sector. KABs struck the Kupiansk-Uzlovaya crossing hard. This is an important crossing connecting both banks of the Oskol River. On the western right bank, fighting continues in Kondrashovka. Russian forces are advancing north of Kupiansk in 3 directions: Volchansk, Kazacha Lopan, and Slatina. Strikes were carried out on concealed positions and temporary deployment points of the AFU. The situation is tense and worsening daily. Russian forces launched Iskanders and strike drones at facilities involved in production, repairs, logistics, equipment, and arms for the AFU. According to sources, a subterranean bunker in Ternopil, where foreign missiles were allegedly stored, was hit. Our source reports that a collapse of the AFU front may occur in the fall. There are numerous contributing factors to this. Morale within the AFU remains at rock bottom. An army cannot fight effectively under such conditions. There is a manpower shortage. On paper, several thousand troops may be stationed in a given sector, but in reality it's 2 or even 3 times fewer. Fortifications that supposedly cost billions exist only on paper. In practice, they're useless, just open corridors that can't be defended effectively. The growing effectiveness of FAB bombs, a worsening shortage of high-quality FPV drones. Drones that were decent 6 months ago are now obsolete. War evolves quickly. The quality of AFU conscripts is declining. The army is starting to look more like a crowd than a real military force. Rising dissatisfaction within the military and among the population with Zelensky's government. Increasing domestic division and resistance among the masses. Ammunition shortages, particularly air defense systems. Economic collapse, industrial output falling, financial crisis, public uncertainty, ongoing mass emigration, etc. This is only a partial list of reasons pointing toward a negative outcome. Meanwhile, Bankova, the Ukrainian president's office, continues to ignore these warning signs. Here's another blow. Poland has opposed Ukraine's EU membership. The newly elected Polish president, Stanisław Nawrocki, openly spoke out against Ukraine joining the European Union. However, Nawrocki emphasized that Poland should still support Ukraine from a strategic geopolitical standpoint, calling Russia a threat to the EU. Still, he reminded everyone that European countries such as Poland and Hungary have their own interests that Kiev must take into account. Meanwhile, Zelensky is complaining that the US is not giving Ukraine the green light to purchase air defense systems. In his latest address, he stated that the US has yet to respond to Kiev's request to buy these systems. According to him, no clear signals have come from the US. And all of this is happening while Trump, after the attack on Russia's strategic aviation, stated that Ukraine's actions are escalating the situation. I do not approve of these attacks. They could lead to nuclear conflict. Ukraine gave Putin an excuse. In other words, Trump made the US position on strikes against Russian bases clear. Ukraine provoked the escalation. Kiev's actions have been openly called a mistake and a provocation, writes Oleg Tsarev. Trump's inner circle has blamed Ukraine for derailing the peace process. The US president made it clear to the German chancellor that Kiev is now more of their problem than America's. That's why German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's visit to Washington is being described as a cold shower for Kiev. Merz got the message from Trump loud and clear. The US cannot do anything to stop this war.